Wealth Dynasty. Thanks for coming back and tuning in with us today. We have a great episode. We're going to be talking about long-term care and who that's for, where that can benefit, when you should get it, why you should get it, why you should even think about this. And without further ado, I'll turn the time over to our guests.
Mark, thank you. It's great to be here. Appreciate these opportunities. So talking about long-term care, this is an area that's very near and dear to all of us. It will be at some point. I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened in our family that I think is very illustrative of how long-term care insurance is so valuable. This happens to do with my father-in-law, actually. Strong man. He was a scientist, a brilliant individual, but also physically strong. So he was an outdoors person, did a lot, and he actually outlived his wife by 10 years. And in his situation, most of his assets were in his retirement plan from his university days, all his liquid assets, and all the money that would be used to pay for care. His wife passed away, and he started to decline quickly after that. This is back in, so I'll give you a time frame. His wife died in 2006, and his decline really took place 2008, 2009. So if you recall, 2008, 2009, that was the Great Recession, where the market dropped 40%. He had his assets in a qualified plan, mostly invested. At least 50% were in variable assets. And so even before he started taking money out for his care, which became necessary, he was cared for in our home for a year. He was cared for in other siblings' home for quite a while. I can remember one situation where my wife was driving with him. He was actually allowed to drive, but he was driving on a major road here in South Florida and forgot where he was. He couldn't figure out where he was anymore. And he stopped the car, in the middle of a busy highway. Wasn't an expressway, but nevertheless, it was a highway. And so that created all kinds of stress there and a frightening incident.
Very scary. Yeah, very scary.
Anyways, he needed to get care. Nobody could care for him. He got to the point where nobody could care for him. He stayed in his own home for as long as he could. He lost continence. He was having a lot of trouble and really just could not take care of himself anymore. And nobody could take care of him because the dementia and the Alzheimer's were such that it's really hard to take care of somebody that has that without a really good structure around them and full-time care.
Yeah, the time is so much time to get you. Like they turn into like a baby again.
Yeah.
So.
And one of my wife's sisters who lived out near him took charge of most of that, but it was just too much. He couldn't do it. So he had to go to a home. He had a nice home to go to. That was, quite a bit of money. And remember, this is money that's coming out of a qualified plan. The market dropped, so he lost, 20, 30% of that money in the market drop. He had to start taking it out, had to pay taxes on the money to take out. And so it's really kind of the worst scenario in a way. So I'm sure at the end of the day, it probably cost the family $500,000 or $600,000 that he would have been able to pass on. Okay. That was big. Okay. For our family, that was important. Okay. So it was a big loss to the family. He got good care, thankfully. There was no long-term care insurance, nothing like that. It wasn't something that really occurred to them in their age bracket. But, towards the end, he was, really struggled. He couldn't remember anything, couldn't remember who he was or where he was or anything like that. It was very hard to see. But he did get good care. So that was the wonderful part. But it did cost a lot. It took a big toll on my wife's sister. There was even a little disgruntlement among some of the siblings, which was unfair to that sister. There's a lot of things that were going on that were hard to fix. And so it just illustrates the value of if there had been some kind of long-term care benefits in place, they could have avoided taking money out of their qualified plan when the market was down. Of course, the market did recover, but he couldn't ever recover that money because it was spent.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when he did eventually pass away, it was a reduced estate, obviously. But it highlighted that if he'd had that coverage in place, so much of that would have been paid for. So much of the stress would have been reduced. And he had good support. Okay. He had several children,
Yeah.
a lot of good support. So there was no support, nothing like that. It wasn't by himself. And so I think the long-term care makes huge sense. It would have been a great investment for the family. It would have saved so much money.
So much money, so much stress, so much gray hair.
Yeah, so much gray hair. It's a shocker when, the family has to move in with you. It's not, it's an adjustment.
It is a huge adjustment. And there's so much there.
There's a lot. But let's talk about some solutions real quick. So there's a few solutions that are very effective. They have to be done prior to any kind of health issues coming up.
Okay.
That's super important. This is something that has to be planned well ahead when you don't want to think about it, but it's super important.
Yeah. So I guess before we go right to that, let's talk about the very high level. What is long-term care for someone that has no idea what long-term care is, and why this makes any sense, and who needs to be getting this?
Okay.
So
what is long-term care insurance? It's simply it's not a life insurance. It's a policy that protects against the loss or the expense of long-term care. So poor people have Medicaid. Medicaid is a huge provider of long-term care benefits, but lots of people are going to have to spend a lot of assets to get down to Medicaid.
Okay.
Yeah, your assets are small. It has to be small.
super small.
Yeah. So you have to spend a lot of money down to get Medicaid. One perfectly good strategy is to make sure that at least 5 years ahead of time, the assets are actually out of the personal hands of the individual
Into trust.
into trust and other situations, so that when the time comes, they actually qualify for Medicaid. Okay. That's actually a good strategy, and people do try to do that. And then that way the family money is preserved. Long-term care insurance pays for when you can't take care of yourself anymore. What does that mean? You can't do the 6 daily living activities. If I can remember them all, you may have to help me. So it's continence, transferring, eating, bathing, and what else we got? Toileting, and being able to move around, basically, on your own without hurting yourself. Okay. If you can't do those things, then there's a claim. And the contracts are basically all the same. They're all the same triggers to create a claim. And you have another trigger, which is, of course, dementia or Alzheimer's, which prevents someone from caring for themselves.
Correct.
And so my father-in-law would have definitely qualified, no question. So there's 2 types of contracts out there. One is reimbursement. The other is indemnity. Reimbursement simply means reimbursed for actual expenses, where you have to submit receipts and so forth.
You pay up front, they pay you back.
Correct. They can also set up directly within a nursing home, where they pay directly to the nursing home. Okay. Or it's indemnity, where you have a claim, they send you cash every month, you spend it as you see fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those payments can be significant, like $9,000-$10,000 a month.
Oh yeah, quite a bit. The indemnity, people prefer that for the most part because it allows them to pay a son or a daughter or a grandchild or a nephew or something to come and care for them.
Correct. That becomes your full-time job.
It becomes your full-time job.
Yeah.
Okay. But sometimes reimbursement's better if someone's single. They have no support system. The reimbursement can actually be better because they are cared for in a professional setting, and the payments are directly to the professionals. Okay. And don't have to worry about.
Can people change it in their life situation? Like,
there are some contracts where you can make decisions to swap them. Yeah. Okay. Most of them are either one or the other.
Okay. And when should you be getting, or even considering getting long-term care? Is it not for 20-year-olds, or should a 20-year-old even have this on their radar?
Well, my opinion is if someone's buying life insurance these days, they're buying life insurance for protection purposes, a permanent life insurance, they should add a long-term care rider. Doesn't matter if they're 35, 40 years old, they should add the long-term care rider.
Well, that's going to be pretty cheap, obviously.
Way cheaper.
Earlier to get it.
And that just gives them access to the death benefit for long-term care purposes.
Okay.
That's something I purchased a few years ago. And I felt really good about that.
That's good.
Okay. But there's also hybrid types of coverage where you have some life insurance to, basically pay you back for the premium you put into it a little bit more. And then the long-term care portion is substantial. So maybe up to $1 million of care, either reimbursement or indemnity. That can be solved through life insurance. And lots of life insurance policies have it built in where if a situation occurs, they can access the death benefit early but they have to take a discount on the death benefit because they're not paying for it up front.
Yeah.
They're paying for it at the time.
At the time, yeah.
Okay. But it's still substantial and a great benefit. So those are kind of some of the ways to do that. They also have the old style long-term care policies, traditional long-term care, which is strictly you pay for it, and if you don't use it, you lose it. Those are rare these days. They were very strong and used for many, many years, but the premiums on those things skyrocketed over the years and made it difficult. So the new ones typically have more stability on those premiums, guarantees, and there's lots of good companies out there that do a great job with that. I've seen especially single people really like to have long-term care benefits because they don't have the structure behind them.
Correct.
And it allows them the freedom to, be safe.
Yeah.
Okay. They may have assets, but but when you're in a situation like that, you have no way of even handling your assets.
Yeah.
You can't even do it.
Alzheimer's, and you're like,
You can't
what
do
are you going to
anything.
do with anything?
Yeah. You need that,
Care. Yeah.
And so you have all the assets in the world, but there's nobody to take care of you,
It's a crazy situation. And now I know
they don't know how to handle money at that point.
Yeah, you don't know anything. I mean, you start losing that ability. Now, we've mentioned, or you mentioned in the past, that women are more prone to even thinking about this or to getting this than men. Why do you think, is that common or?
Well, it's so hard to generalize, but
Yeah.
I think you said a statistic a few minutes ago where a couple 65 and older has a 70% chance they're going to use some kind of long-term care.
That's correct.
Okay. Single women, they may be 50% chance, something like that. Whatever the chance is, still high, very high. Women tend to live longer, but also tend to be feeble longer. Tend to, not a guarantee. It's just the tendency is. And so women have, and also women are very more concerned about being protected.
Taken care of. Yeah. I don't want to be.
The man's mindset most men's mindset, oh, I'm going to, blow my head off, or I'm going to do this or that. And they don't do that. Okay. That's not what they actually do, because people cling to life, right? Okay. That's the reality. You cling to life, but the men don't want to think about it. And it's
I'm
hard.
going to tough it out and walk it off.
Right. Got to walk it off. And okay.
Walk off this all the
But
time.
that's not reality.
My dementia. Walk it off.
Well, that's how people think. That's how men think.
That's how men think.
But it doesn't work that way. It's not reality. Women are much more pragmatic when it comes to
Yeah.
that sort of thing. And, so we've done many cases for people with needing long-term care, and it's been very beneficial. I've had very wealthy people purchase long-term care.
Yeah.
Super high net worth people purchase long-term care.
Smart play. It's
a smart play.
Yeah.
Why not put that risk onto the insurance company?
Yeah.
Okay. Why not, you spend it's a few $1,000s, but you got $1 million of benefit.
Yeah.
Something that's really highly likely to occur.
So when is it, like, I guess, kind of like the cutoff? It's about 5 years before you or is it?
Well, no. To buy insurance for it, you want to start
as early as possible.
Yeah, as early as possible. Depends on what kind of coverage you get. Most people do it in the late 40s, early 50s, maybe 60s.
Okay.
Some in the 70s. There's all sorts of solutions to it. Some annuities you can use to create long-term care benefits without underwriting. They just, the payout increases while you're receiving care for 4 years or something like that.
And who should not get this? What is it? Is there anybody that does not make any sense for?
Some advisors say the super wealthy don't need it, but honestly, super wealthy got there because they use other people's money for the most part.
Spot on. Yep.
And so in this case, why not pass this
This bill to the
bill onto the insurance company?
Yeah.
And the truth is, with the hybrid coverages and the life insurance with the long-term care riders, they're not going to lose any money.
Low cost. Yeah.
They're not going to lose any money on this. It's all going to come back to them one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Super safe play there. Yeah. Okay.
And it's a super, like you said, super safe. Oh, you may not get the big returns on it. Okay. But the risk is that if you do need the coverage, the return is tremendous.
Yeah.
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 And it's tax-free.
Tax-free.
Yeah.
That's something that I hope we all heard that. Tax-free, right? In fact, tax-free is like a big thing. So
that's really, I would recommend it for almost anybody. It's somebody that's smart. If they're single, they want to start off, they can start off in the 30s, 20s, 30s with a life insurance with a long-term care rider.
And how much is that long-term care rider going to add to whatever life insurance? Just depends, or?
It depends. It might add 10, 15%.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No. And it's honestly, it's dirt cheap doing it that way. Because, as you get older in your 60s and so forth, you buy a significant long-term care policy, you might spend $100,000, $200,000, you
Yeah.
know, on a single premium.
All right. Well, there you go. Any other things you want to add to that, or?
I don't think so. I think it's super important. It's, you know, it's what we do, Wealth Dynasty. We're talking about things that nobody wants to talk about, problems that don't want to think about. But if we take our time, we do some planning, it just makes life so much better.
It's solutions. It really is. These are solutions that are made for fixing these problems. And, you know, just like you said, most people don't want to look at the problem. They don't want to think about the problem, but you just set it up and forget it. Pay it and just forget this, you know, put it on autopilot. So,
yeah, I mean, back in the day, you always worried about college education, retirement, buying a home, right?
yeah.
So now you got to add long-term care to that thing.
People, I mean, when I was a kid, they used to see life expectancy is like 69, 70 years old. Now, man, I know lots of people that are up in their 80s, 90s still playing pickleball.
Right.
Like, yo, this is, I mean, it's going to get, the more AI and the more advancements we have with health, it's going to get, we're going to keep, you know, lengthening our lifespan, and not, that also lengthens the time that you would need a product like this.
Correct.
So your vulnerability is at stake.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Wealth Dynasty.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the next episode. Thanks.